Oh, really? No. No, not right now. Okay, I'm not finding it. Yeah. My question. $250.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mute.
I'm
Okay, you can hear me.
I can hear you both.
Did you turn the phone off, Sabina?
I did. Okay, I did unmute myself. Hello.
Hi, I'm going to go ahead and make both of you co-host really quick.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to try to turn my phone off.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Okay, my phone's off now. It shouldn't run anymore. That's good. Because I would, right in the middle, I'd be sure to get a call from somebody. Okay, we're ready. Good. This is good. Are you Erin?
Yes. I'm Erin. It's nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Erin, or see you.
Yes.
Practicing and practicing.
Perfect.
And Sabina's the one that knows how to work the electronics. She's the one that has to tell me. She's in Bowling Green, so we're not even close together.
Oh, wow.
But we've been practicing a lot. So this is good. This is all fun.
Perfect.
You've all done this a lot. Do you do these Zoom meetings a lot?
We do. We've had one about once a week since the beginning of March. We're about to transition to 2 per month, though.
Oh, well, it looks like we're going to be in this kind of situation for a while, doesn't it?
It does. Yep.
Unfortunately. Well, we're so glad that you invited us. We're really pleased to be a part of it. I think that's
Well,
great.
we're very grateful that you guys can present with us today.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to it. I hope we've got several people listening. I don't know whether we do or not.
Right now, it's just us. Typically, we see most of our people log on between like 12:50 and 1 o'clock.
Okay. Well, good. So maybe we'll have some people join us. That'll be good.
Yes, I know Dawn, our VP, should hop on any minute.
Okay, good. Very good. All is well. See, we've got these backgrounds behind us. Sabina,
I like
how to do
those.
backgrounds.
Those are neat.
And it's funny because sometimes with something I wear, I jiggle in front of this background.
Yeah.
I'm not jiggling, so that's good. I told Sabina that I'd have to wear something solid colored. One day I was practicing and had on a striped shirt, and I just jiggled the whole time, just like
Oh
that.
my goodness.
So are you working from office right now?
I am in the office. I've been in the office pretty much the whole time. We have a small
Oh, wow.
staff, so about 50% of us are here and 50% of us are at home.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you guys been working remotely for the most part?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, since I came home on the 10th day of March, and I've been at home since then. Have been
Oh my
back to work in
goodness.
the office. It's very difficult. It's hard, but
I can't imagine.
it's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And at least I tell myself when I'm bored, I say, at least I'm healthy. I've got I have a whole lot fewer worries than some people have.
Absolutely. Yes.
How long have you been with the chamber, Erin?
I've been here about 3.5 years.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
How many employees does the chamber have? That chamber is very active, and I didn't know how many employees
We have 20 full-time employees.
do you?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you all sponsor activities like, well, obviously you have this Best of Business program. What other kinds of things do you all sponsor?
So we do a lot of networking type stuff. So a business after hours, let's do lunch and coffee hour. They're all mainly just networking, bringing our partners in to meet each other and mingle. We do, it's called Bowling Green Young Professionals. It's a young professional organization. We offer them professional development, networking events, and then we get them to volunteer in the community. So we have a lot of different programs here at the chamber. There's something for everybody.
Well, it seems very active. As I say, I
It
live in
is.
Mexico, so I just hear about the things you're doing. I read in the paper about what you're doing and hear about it, and it seems very active. It really does.
Yes, we're constantly busy, but I mean, most of us here love staying busy, so it's good.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Much easier to be busy than it is not to be busy.
It is. And once the beginning of the COVID stuff, we kind of had a little lull. So that was very different for a lot of us to kind of get through.
Well, it's I teach in the spring. I had a graduate seminar and had to, of course, in the middle of the semester, I had to go online with it from my dining room table, and it was just really weird. I feel so sorry for children and parents and teachers in the public schools because I just don't know how on earth they could switch all of a sudden like that.
I know it was like a overnight switch. It seemed like
No,
it was
just awful.
Yeah.
And then I worry about children who are at home all the time now that parents, because we have so many abused children in Kentucky, that I worry about that with them home and nobody, they're not in school where they're out of the environment. It's just very difficult time.
It is. It is.
Sabina, you all set?
I think so.
You seem to be adjusting your seat or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to position my torso better.
Well, it's hard to know exactly where to be, and I'm looking at myself, and the background is backwards for me, but it's straight for you. So I hope it's straight. Mine is straight for you.
It is.
Not
It
the
is.
mirror image. And I guess for Erin, both of them look straight. Don't they look
Mhm.
correct?
They do.
Mine is backwards. The Center for Leadership Excellence is over there, and it's going this way instead of going that way. Well, anyway, this is exciting. This is fun.
It is.
Did you have a seminar before us?
We do not. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
We typically do like at least one per day. We don't like
Oh, okay.
events to compete with others.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
People are busy, and now that people are getting back to work, it's harder for them to do these kinds of things.
It is, yeah.
How many did you see registered?
We had about 15 pre-registrations.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. If we have,
Mm.
if we have, several of them here, I'm sure some of them at the last minute won't be able to come, but maybe some other people will come in at the last minute.
Right.
If we have several of them, we might get some good discussion at the end.
We might. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I'd be glad to hear their comments or reactions to the concept that we're talking about, because it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
And that's
I
good.
always love the Q&A portion of these because people will ask questions and it's like, oh, I never thought of that. So it's very different.
That's
I
what's so
like it.
wonderful about being in a face-to-face classroom, because
Mhm.
some people will say things that you never thought about. And
Right.
it's so invigorating to hear other people's ideas about things.
It is.
I just love that. I like being in a classroom with people.
I bet.
Do you all ever do collaborative things with other chambers, or is that more like a competition, a business competition?
Oh. No, they're not our competition. We do a lot with ACCE, which is the kind of the national chamber, and then the US chamber as well. So we work a lot with them and the Kentucky chamber. And then we always communicate with other local chambers too.
Which ones are the chambers? If we were to decide that we wanted to do some kind of training program in adaptive leadership,
Yeah.
about doing that, do you have any ideas how you would connect with that?
Yeah, so we do at the chamber, we offer, it's called a training consortium. Our ED team, our economic development team, really takes on that aspect of it. But if it's something you're interested in getting involved with, I can email with you later on after this and connect you with the person.
Do other chambers do that? What we had thought is we'd like to offer adaptive leadership training to people in our area, just in
Right.
our general area, because
Mhm.
so valuable right now, and in the next year or so when we're facing things, we don't know what we're facing. And it would be so valuable. It'd be such a good service for us to be able to offer. We just love to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would be a great fit. Some training consortium, we really offer it out to the public here in Bowling Green. A lot of the manufacturing, kind of the targeted businesses and industries will use it just to train their workforce.
Well,
And
and would be helpful, if people would think that this would be useful to managers at different levels in the organization,
Mhm.
particularly as they're facing things that they've never faced before. And
Exactly.
it's not hard to learn. And there's steps. This process gives you the steps to take. So it's not like you have to sit and theorize, on and on. So we're excited about it, and that would be great if you could connect us somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to about it, and maybe at other regional chambers too.
Mhm.
Maybe others would see it and think it was important too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a great fit. So, Christian Howard on our team actually kind of spearheads that. So I'll make sure to connect you guys.
It'd be great if you do that, and we can
Yes.
talk about it and see if they're interested in doing. We could do some series of things like that. I think.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Maybe then it could spread to other areas, outside the Bowling Green area. I think
Yes.
in Franklin maybe, and some other places.
Mm-hmm.
A good thing to do. It'd be fun. It'd be good. Particularly now when we can't go to school anyway. Do it virtually.
Yeah.
Or we could do, real training programs. I mean, like 2-day training programs or something.
Mm-hmm.
We got trained that way, and we could do that kind of a thing if we wanted to. But it'd be interesting to consider whether
It would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hear me talk about where we got trained and how they trained us and why we're so excited about it, because we actually experienced it and saw how important it was.
Yeah. I know, I'm excited to sit in on this today. I mean, this is a great topic.
Well, it is a good topic. It really is. It's very, I think you'll enjoy it. I really
Yes.
do. We'll enjoy it. I know everybody, I hope everybody else does too. I need to remember to sit still so I don't start jiggling.
I like how you use the word jiggling.
I mean, jiggling. You see, well, I'm not jiggling today. I don't know why, but sometimes my hair jig, well, there, like that, like it was doing there. That jiggling, that's what I call jiggling. With these backgrounds, they told us that Sabina told me that I had to have a green screen. So I went up upstairs and posted green plastic tablecloths along the wall of the bedroom, an empty bedroom up there. I had trouble because my Wi-Fi would go in and out. I thought, well, I cannot do that. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and have it go out in the middle of this presentation. So then I came down in the basement where my desktop is hardwired in. So I didn't think that would go out. But then the background's working down here. So why it works down here and didn't work upstairs, I don't know. It's very strange.
It is very strange. Our VP is giving me a call right now. I'm going to answer that really quickly.
Okay, good.
Hey, Dawn. Okay, let me send you the correct one.
Let me open this.
I'm going to send you the meeting ID and the password, and that should get you in. I am emailing it. Give me just a second. All right, and I just sent it. I just sent it to your email. You're welcome. Bye. Right, and we have one more person joining us, it looks like.
Well, that's my daughter. Now from Washington, D.C., and I told her to join so she could see. She's a CEO of a trade organization. I said, I'd like to have your opinion on what we're saying. And how
Yeah.
it'd be good to know. So that's Leslie.
Well, we're glad to have her on here.
Good.
And then Dawn is joining right now.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Hi, Dawn. How are you?
Hello.
How are you? Okay, so Erin, I just want to make sure, am I queuing up the video and the screen share?
Yes, if you can screen share the video, whenever I do it on my laptop, the sound won't play. So if you can share that, that would be great. And then I'll send the submitted text example in chat.
Okay, I'm trying to do it right now.
Okay.
So I'm just. Just double checking, making it work.
Right.
Making sure it works. Can you see it?
Mm-mm. I can hear it.
Can you see it and hear it?
Mm-mm. We can't see it.
Okay. Hold on. All right. It says it wants me to join Vimeo.
You should not have to join Vimeo.
It's a Vimeo. It says it. Well, you probably know the same thing. It says it's a Vimeo. Let me try something. Okay, hold on. Screen share. Host disabled, participant screen share. Let me
I'm gonna make you a co-host. Let me do that. Okay.
How did you do it before?
I click on the link and it's gonna ask
Right.
for a password.
Yeah. So screen share. So you clicked on the link from the Word document like you gave me.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me try it from mine again and see if it's gonna do it. Share. Did you see mine? Did it pop up?
Yep.
Did you hear it? Did the sound play with it?
I cannot hear it.
Okay.
I'm here. I'll get it taken care of.
Katie to the rescue.
Yes.
Give me just a second to pull up the video itself, and then Erin, I think it made me host automatically. Are you
Okay.
still able to see the waiting room people?
Yes, I'm letting them in.
Okay, good deal. Then I'll focus on the video.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie.
It says I'm screen sharing. Am I screen sharing anything, Erin?
Are you on the Word document right now?
Yes.
Yep. Then you're screen sharing.
That's because you can see that?
Yes.
Okay. But that's, you can't, all right. Just. Well, I better get out so Katie can do it. So, uh-oh. You there?
I'm still here. Wait, yep.
Okay. So, Dr. Garmon, I'm introducing you. I'm Dawn.
Cecile, good to see you.
Hi. Oh, I love your glasses.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you're having trouble with the electronics because I can't do anything. Sabina has to do everything for me.
Well, yeah, it was giving me a different screen than and then Erin, when she screen shares, you can't hear it from hers. And then Katie can do it all. So there you go.
It's nice to have somebody that can do it all.
Right. So anyway, so I will, when it's time, I will talk a little bit about what we're doing and what this is, a few housekeeping rules. We'll do a video of of our sponsor, and then I will introduce you and let you take it. And then after you're done, we will have your presentation and any questions that come up while we're doing it.
That'd be great.
It will be on the chat, and then you'll do the Q&A at the end.
That'll be fine. That'll
And
be
we'll walk,
you're gonna
Erin
have-
will walk.
You'll tell us the questions. You all will handle.
Yes,
Okay,
Mhm.
yes.
that's good.
Erin will actually read those questions to you, and we'll go from there. But I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
I hope I have the answers.
Yeah. All right. How many do we have registered, Erin?
We had 15 the last time I looked.
Okay.
And
Dr. Garmon, where is the Gordon Ford College of Business?
It's in Grice Hall at Western.
Oh, okay.
It's the Business College of Western, of WKU.
Okay, so it's right here. I'm new to Bowling Green, so.
Well, I was thinking you must be, because everybody knows where Western is. Everybody.
Oh yeah, no, I know where Western is, but I'm new. But see,
Yeah.
where I lived, but where I just came from, Western was Western Michigan, not
Oh,
Western
Well,
Kentucky.
it's different. Yes, here it's Western.
Those were the Broncos up there.
We're trying to call it WKU now, but we still
Yeah.
call it Western. Old people still call it Western.
Young people still call it Western too.
I'm glad to see some of my friends. Rose here, Micah's here, Gail's here. I'm glad to see them. Glad to see their names here. I guess that means they're entered.
yes, they are live with us.
There's Rose. Hello. This is good. Hello, Nick.
Hello, Dr. Garmon. How are you doing?
Well, how are you? Glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you too. I was going to reach out to you after this and chat for a little while.
Be great.
Since I've started working, I've come across your work a few times, so I just thought it would be a good idea for you and I to
Great. Love it.
virtually for a few minutes if you have a moment sometime this summer.
In fact, on the last screen, we're going to show you my home telephone number since I've been working from home now since the 10th of March. It doesn't do anything to call my office, but we'll give you my home telephone number so you can call me.
Okay, that sounds good. We can do it that way. We can Zoom. We can, however, it's fine with you. Yeah.
I'm learning how to Zoom. I hope we're going to manage it today. Somebody else is managing it for me though, so that's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's good. Well, I've been working a bit with this Kansas Leadership Center stuff. I went through the training program in well, it ended up becoming virtual because of the virus, but I'm doing a civic engagement project up here in Owensboro right now with some community leaders, and we're using the KLC adaptive change HIFITS stuff. So
Yes, great. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Is the
I really like that stuff. I really like the folks at the center. They really are on top of things. I was not able to come down in the fall when you had Julia. Is it Julia McBride, I think, is the one that was there on campus, right? Yeah. So
have more people down during the spring, and of course all that got canceled. We were going to have a full training session. They were going to come and do training here, but of course that got canceled. But we still hope to do it sometime. You know.
Well, that'd be great. You count me in on that because it's been very effective from the civic community leadership side, as far as identifying challenges to address in the community and how to go about sort of mobilizing people around those challenges. That's kind of what we're doing with this project here. And it's been a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of young people that want to get engaged, and it's a really good way to engage them. So
I'd like to talk with you about it. I'll be interested in talking. I think that's really important for us to do in our society right now, particularly. It was always
absolutely.
it's really important, I think.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there, and that's really what I see is I see a hunger from a lot of people wanting to engage around something like this. And of course, all the race stuff, all the things that are currently happening has really brought a lot more interest to some of this work right now. So yeah, I'm excited to listen today, and then I'll follow up with you and we'll get connected and go forward. So it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll give it just a one more minute to see if we get any more participants to join in, and then we'll start this show. All right. Well, I think we will just go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us today for our Business at its Best seminar on active leadership in the times of crisis. I am Dawn Johnson. I am the newest team member here at the Bowling Green Area Chamber. I am the Vice President of Partner Services, and I have come to Bowling Green with a lot of chamber experience, but I have a lot to learn here, so I'm very excited to meet all of you and see all your faces. And hopefully when we have the new normal and maybe someday can actually get together, that will happen. So thanks again for being here. A few housekeeping rules today. Our session is being recorded, so please keep your mics on mute for the duration of the presentation. If you have questions, those can be submitted via the chat window, and you can see an example that Erin has just submitted on the chat window. We will have Q&A portion of the presentation at the conclusion, where we will find and read your submissions for Dr. Garmon to answer. And before we get started, we have a short clip from the Graves Gilbert Clinic, who are our title sponsor for Business at its Best.
At Graves Gilbert Clinic, their top priority is the health and safety of their patients, employees, and visitors. And because of that, Graves Gilbert Clinic is now offering telehealth visits, which allows patients and physicians to use an app to communicate via video chat. Any patient who would like to schedule a telehealth appointment is encouraged to call their Graves Gilbert Clinic physician's office directly, or call the Graves Gilbert Clinic telehealth hotline at 270-746-5790.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. It is my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Dr. Cecile Garmon, with the Center for Leadership Excellence and the Gordon Ford College of Business. Dr. Garmon serves as the Nicely Professor of Leadership and Director of Center for Leadership Excellence at the Gordon Ford College of Business, as well as Professor of Communication in Potter College at Western University. She joined WKU in 1980 and has served in various capacities during those years. Her areas of expertise include intercultural communication, leadership, multinational business communication, global leadership communication, and she has developed a growing interest in the ways in which sub-Saharan leaders and followers communicate their ideas about. Her research areas include various aspects of leadership and communication, especially related to ethics and culture. She has taught at the University of Guadalajara, Mexico, as a senior Fulbright Fellow in 2000, and continues to travel internationally for research and professional interest. She helps to deliver leadership development activities in the WKU target area and works with the local leadership groups to develop and promote their programs. Garmon holds a PhD from Vanderbilt University, MAs from University of Kentucky and Western Kentucky University, and a BA from the University of Kentucky. Dr. Garmon, we appreciate you partnering with us on this today, and we will just let you take over the floor.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it very much. We are very happy to be here. I'm Cecile Garmon, as she said. I'm the director of the Center for Leadership Excellence in the Gordon Ford College of Business at WKU. And I'm here with Sabina Hasek, who is the research assistant in the Center for Leadership Excellence. And we're excited, we're so pleased that the Bowling Green Chamber has invited us to join this activity today and to talk with you all and introduce you all perhaps to adaptive leadership, because adaptive leadership is so important to use in times of crisis and indecision and unrest and unknowing what's going on. And we think that's really important right now. So we're glad to be here. Adaptive leadership, let me give you a little background. Adaptive leadership was developed at Harvard by Ron Heifetz and Marty Linsky and some others several years ago. And I had been reading about it for a long time, but the Kansas Center for Leadership is the one that finally excited our attention about using it. About 15 years ago, the Kansas Healthcare Foundation decided that the way to improve the health of people in Kansas was to improve civic leadership. That's a pretty significant idea. So they created the Kansas Leadership Center. And they have been in existence in Wichita for about 10 years. And they have taught people from all over the world, including some from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And they have established centers that are very important. They have taught 10,000 Kansans adaptive leadership. And I've been working with them now for about a year. And it occurred to me, or to Sabina and me, that if this is that important to Kansans, maybe Kentuckians need some adaptive leadership too. So that's what we're focusing on today, and we're very excited to move forward with it. We have cited at our last screen, we'll cite some sources. If you're interested in looking up some sources, we have some sources that you can look at, and we will be glad to share those with you. So, Sabina, let's get started on adaptive leadership. You might ask, why adaptive leadership? What's different about adaptive leadership? Well, we have 4 points here that we want. Number one, it focuses on how to lead through difficult situations. It tells us how to do that. The second point is that it identifies competencies or skills that the leaders must develop or enhance if they already have them. Then it provides steps that you can take to include others to address difficult situations. And finally, the fourth point is really important. Anyone can learn and practice adaptive leadership. You don't have to be the CEO or the chairman of the board or the chairman of your committee. We all do leadership all the time, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But anybody can learn to do adaptive leadership. It's not difficult, it's interesting, and it's important to learn the steps and the reasons for them. But anybody can learn it. So let's move on now. Let's talk about the priorities. Sabina, you ready to talk about priorities? The principles. Let's start with the principles. There are 5 principles to adaptive leadership. The first one is, and this is really important, think about this, leadership is not a position. Leadership is an activity. Positions are authority. Leadership is activity. Now, sometimes positions and leadership happen work together. Sometimes the people in positions or in authority do leadership, and that's helpful when that happens. Sometimes they don't. But on the contrary, people do leadership all the time without having a position of authority. Let's think about that just a minute. Think about the people in your organization that are leading at all times because they see something that needs to be done. Not because they have a position of authority, but because they see something that needs to be done. You can draw it down even closer to that. Think about in your social group. Somebody calls and asks you to come to dinner or says, let's go to a ball game. They have no position of authority, but they're taking a leadership role because they want you to join in with them to doing something. So you see, leadership is something that goes on all the time. It doesn't necessarily happen because you have a position of authority. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. The second one is that anyone can lead anytime, anywhere. And we do. Who buys the groceries at your family? They're taking a leadership role on the resources for your family and the resources that they're spending and so forth. Think about the ways people lead. Think about the ways you lead without thinking that this is a leadership role. But leadership is so much broader than we normally think of it. Number 3 then, it starts with you and it must engage others. Leadership can't happen. You can't have something move forward that you see needs to be done if you're not willing to get engaged. You have to begin it. It starts with you, but you can't do it by yourself. Leadership requires engaging other people to join with you, to get them to understand what needs to be done, to move forward to the project that they have in mind, and to be involved. And then finally, the next one, the leader must have clear purpose. If you're going to engage in leadership, if you're going to lead anybody, you have to have a clear purpose for what you're doing. You have to have in mind where you're going, because then you have to get other people to join in and to share that purpose. And then the 5th one, number 5, is supposed to be leadership's risky. And we have to keep this in mind. If you're taking leadership, if you're trying to lead people towards something that you think is important, your purpose is important, you're going to run risks. You might be wrong. You might fail. Somebody might get hurt, maybe you. It may not work. People may not join in with you. These are risks you take. But given that, we know that nevertheless, we do them. One of the things we want to do today is we want to think of 3 areas that we can inspire you and help you see how to do better. One of them is to identify and assess issues. The second one is to engage others and energize them toward a collective purpose. And then the third point is to be able to move forward effectively and efficiently and take action. Okay. Now you might ask, why adaptive leadership rather than some of the other many ideas of leadership? Well, there are several reasons why you should use adaptive leadership. And if you think about it, one reason is because adaptive leadership tells you how to move in adaptive situations. And keep that in mind. You also need to think of the competencies that you need. Keep that in mind. And we're going to talk about that. Competencies or skills is a better word for that. And the ways to include other people. And the reason that people can do this. So let's move on. Sabina?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Garmon. Hello, everyone. Oh, something's wrong. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Can you all hear her?
You have joined today. Today we will one part of adaptive leadership and focus will be 4 leadership competencies, as you can see here. These competencies of adaptive leadership will help us identify and assess the issues through diagnosing the situation, manage self throughout the process, and then energize others towards a collective purpose, and then finally move forward effectively by intervening skillfully. When we are faced with adaptive issues, like in today's world, meaning something that we have never really faced before, working and getting better on these leadership competencies will help us work across the adaptive challenge or issue that we are facing. So For today's presentation, we would like to illustrate an issue or a problem through a metaphor so it's easier to visualize it. So look at this model here. For example, imagine that you are hiking with your family, your friends or colleagues, or whoever you want to be hiking with, I guess. Everything's going great. You are on a nice trail. There are no issues. You're having fun. And this is the straight line that you can see here. While you're hiking, you see two bear cubs in front of you. As you come closer to the bear cubs, you notice that the mama bear is behind you. Now, if you move forward, there are risks. If you go back, there are risks. The bear is the issue. The bear is the problem. You cannot continue as planned. The normal route you selected no longer works. And the only way to move forward is a side trail that you see here, but you don't have a map. You don't know where it's going to lead. And this is something you have really never encountered before. It's something new. This is something that you don't know how to handle. You're scared. There are so many risks. However, this new path that is unknown is a way that you can save you, that it can save you and it can save your stakeholders. So to successfully lead your family, your friends through this, you will have to practice these 4 leadership competencies in order to achieve your final collective purpose and get back on the main trail. So as you can see, this side trail here, you will have many obstacles. It will not be smooth. And you as the leader, you don't know everything. So you as the leader will have to diagnose the situation first. Meanwhile, manage self as well, find ways to energize others, and then intervene skillfully to overcome the challenge that you are facing. So think of an issue that you are facing right now, all of you. As we move forward with this presentation, probably it's not a bear that you have a problem with right now, but maybe it's something that has forced you or your organization maybe out of the ordinary. You have not maybe dealt with it. Maybe this is something, it's an adaptive issue, and you don't know the right answers, and you are trying to figure out ways to solve it. So let's get started. How do we actually identify an issue? What is the real cause? What is the problem? So the first leadership competencies that we will start today is with diagnosing the situation. Dr. Garmon?
Okay, thanks, Serena. We're going to start, there are 4 skills that adaptive leadership says that the leader needs to develop, enhance, perfect. And the first one is diagnosing the situation. The leader's got to understand, if you're going to lead people through a problem or through a situation, you've got to understand what the situation is. Investigating and assessing a situation takes serious work. But you have to know why it's the way it is, why is the environment what it is, what was it before, how it will change, what it's going to be in the future. That's difficult, but it takes deliberate attention, and it's certainly not as simple as it might sound. We sometimes fail in leadership because we misdiagnose situations. So this is really important. There are several reasons why we might misdiagnose situations, but 3 of the common ones are, one of them, we're in a hurry. We want to be quick. We got to get it done as quickly. We got to get out of this fast. We got to get through this quickly. In adaptive situations, you can't usually get through quickly. Another one is that we decide we're going to do this without causing any pain. We don't want anybody to suffer. You know, we just don't want to suffer ourselves. We don't want to cause any problems. A leadership is change, and change brings discomfort at the least, because you're leaving the status quo. So even if you're going to something better, you will had some comfort level in being in the status quo. Sometimes it causes real pain. And then the third reason that we misdiagnose sometimes is because we want to be heroic. We think that as the leader, we have to be in charge and we have to make all decisions and we have to resolve all issues. So try to avoid those 3 misdiagnosis categories that we fall into. and try to think on how to diagnose clearly so that it'll enable us to move forward successfully. Remember that leadership is activity, it's not position. So let's move forward. As we look at diagnosing the situation, there are several categories that we could describe and talk with you about, but we thought of these two today. We don't have time to do all of them, of course. The first one is distinguishing technical and adaptive work. And the second one we're going to talk about is identifying who needs to do the work. So let's talk about technical and adaptive. That's one of the most important things we have. Think about your issue, the issue that you've identified. We could talk about the bear, being in the woods with the bear. Is that technical or adaptive? A technical problem, a technical issue is the one that you've dealt with before and you know how to handle. It's a shame that it comes up again, but you know how to handle it. The electricity goes off. You call an electrician. I mean, you know how to do that. You know he or she knows how to fix the electricity, even if you don't, but you know how to handle it. So the solution is clear. With adaptive work, the solution is not clear and it requires learning. An adaptive work, then, like a pandemic, you haven't faced before. You don't know what to do. You don't know what's causing it. You don't know what are all the implications of it. So as you look at it, you have to think about, what can I learn about it? What do I need to know? So adaptive work requires learning. If you're in the woods with a bear, I'm assuming that you haven't been there before. This is the first time you've been caught between a mother bear and her cubs. So you're going to have to learn how to do it. You don't know what to do. Let's look on at the aspect of the problem. With technical work, the problem's clear. The electricity's off, turn it on. I'm out of money, I call the banker, or I quit spending, whichever is more appropriate. Adaptive work also requires learning. You have to learn what the problem is. In situations we frequently face, we assume that the situation is clear and that we know what it is. But if it's an adaptive work, we probably don't know all the issues. Then think about whose work it is. If it's technical, it's the work for the expert or the authority, the electrician or the banker. If it's adaptive work, it's the work of the stakeholders. All the people involved have to be a part of it because they have to learn what's going on, to identify the issue, and to address it. So adaptive issues are very different from technical issues. Let's look at what type of work it is. If it's technical, it's efficient. The electrician comes in and wires up or does whatever he does. I don't know what that is, but whatever he does, he manages. If it's adaptive work, the stakeholders have to figure out how to do it. And it's not efficient. The technical work is efficient, but adaptive work is not efficient. It's anything but efficient. It's experimental. You have to try new things because you're learning new things. You don't know the answers to these things. So you have to try all these new things. The timeline for technical is quick, as soon as possible, get it done. The adaptive work, it takes longer because you're having to learn all these things and you have to try new things. Expectations for technical work is to fix it. Expectations for adaptive work are not to fix it, but to make progress toward reaching a solution. So your expectations are that you make progress, not that you fix it quickly. The attitude about technical work is confidence and skill. The electrician knows how to put things together, whatever he does. The banker knows how to transfer money, or maybe you know how to quit spending money. But with adaptive work, the attitude is curiosity because you don't know. You're learning what it is, what the problem is, who you're learning from its stakeholders. So your curiosity is the attitude of this. Now let's move on to identifying who needs to do the work. This is another issue. Frequently, we think as leaders we have to be the one to do the work. But often the biggest realization for adaptive challenges is that the who needs to do the work isn't you, or it isn't just you, or it isn't primarily you. Think about what other people in your organization know that you don't know. Connect with them. Another thing to think about with this, when you're thinking about who, is What are the factions involved? Who are the factions? Factions, as you know, are, we join factions because we share values. Well, who are the factions? Think about all the factions of the people you work with. Think about the factions you've got with this bear situation out in the wilderness. You've got the bear for one, and you got the cubs. And then you got the people that are with you. Who's with you? Do you know who's with you? Do you know what they know? Do you know if any of them know how to deal with bears? Have they ever fought with bears before? Or do any of them know where this path might go? Or are they experienced at wandering along paths that they haven't been before? Does somebody know how to climb a tree and find out what's going on around them if there's any help anywhere? So you have to find out all these things. So you have to look at all these factions. What do you need to know about these factions after you've identified them? What do you need to know about them to be able to take action? There are multiple interpretations of any issue, and you need to hear them all. You need to hear all of these interpretations, not just the ones that you have come up with. Remember also that actions have multiple effects on different factions. Inaction also has multiple effects on different factions. Another thing to remember about these things, these adaptive things, is the emotional effects that a crisis may have. Think about the emotional effects you'd have if you were in the woods with the bear and the bear cubs and people, and you're trying to figure out how to get them out. There's emotion involved in that. You could come back home and think about the emotion that we have felt in the last 3 months. If we're dealing with something we don't know about, the fear that people have had, the frightened feeling that they've had, the unease they've had. Those kinds of things. Emotional effects are very important in crisis effects. Then you also need to understand the social and cultural issues that your responses can bring about to these different groups. Address them clearly. Get input from those that are involved, all the ones that are involved, because a leader can't make clear, good action without the help of other people. Finally, allow yourself to learn and to keep on learning. Don't quit learning about the situation just because you think you've hit something. Okay, now let's move to taking care of ourselves.
All right, thank you, Dr. Garmon. Now, so we are at the second leadership competency, and that is to manage self. And to manage self is to really know yourself. Exercising leadership requires knowing yourself well enough to choose when and how to intervene. We have to know our strengths, our weaknesses, and our triggers as well. Remember the adaptive leadership principle: anyone can lead anytime and anywhere, but it starts with you, and it has to start with you. There are several elements under this leadership competency. We are only going to cover 2 of them. Let's see. Due to the time limit of the presentation. And these 2 are getting used to uncertainty and conflict, and experimenting beyond our comfort zone. So what does that mean? Getting used to uncertainty and conflict, not knowing what's going to happen next, is generally stressful. Uncertainty signals that you are unsure of your environment, your skills, or both. But uncertainty also signals the brain to kickstart learning. We need to get used to uncertainty and conflict and then embrace it, learn from it. Typically, we prefer comfort and we avoid conflict. And what we need to do is beware of making a moral principle out of being reluctant, actually, to do something uncomfortable. For example, when a large group meets, everything's wonderful and fine, but afterward, maybe in the parking lot, or in this case, in the woods, people cluster maybe in 2s or 3s, and they're venting their frustrations and they're saying what they really think. But will this solve the problem? Probably not. So how do we overcome this? We need to stay focused on our purpose. In this bear case, their purpose is survival. Think about the purpose or the issue that you are facing right now. What is the purpose of it? How do you want, what's the end goal? Remember that the discomfort right now is worthwhile. We need to treat every situation as an opportunity to learn. Don't put a timestamp on progress. Adaptive leadership work takes more time than we think it will, and we need to acknowledge risks. We need to keep them at the level that we can manage. Think of the bear. What can you manage and control? Don't forget what you know. Actually use it as your compass to navigate uncertainty. If you know that the mama bear is very protective of the cubs, are you going to come closer to the cubs? And then value productive conflict. If someone in your group objects to your ideas, it's okay, embrace it, learn from it, and then get rid of the stigma of eliminating it. And so embrace conflict, value that. The next element that we're going to cover under this competency is experimenting beyond our comfort zone, and this one's really hard. What does that mean? All of us, we have a really, there's a boundary, a certain boundary how far we go to stay comfortable. But if we want to make progress, we need to say yes to a little discomfort, and we need to ask the tough questions. Don't take things personally. Instead, focus on what is best for the organization. We often, as leaders, we blame ourselves for the issues our organizations are facing. But however, leaders, we don't know all the answers. And there's no need to know all the answers. But leaders have to be curious, and they need to ask questions rather to jumping in to give advice. For example, most people, I do too, we don't like to ask difficult questions of their friends, colleagues, or bosses, but sometimes that is exactly what we need to do to make progress. Exercising leadership on tough challenges will get you out of your comfort zone, and then experiment with doing what is needed, and then not what is comfortable. Science has also confirmed that if you're not outside of your comfort zone, you're not really learning. So what does that mean? Unstable situations, they might be uncomfortable right now, but we are learning right now a lot, and we are making progress. So strategically, we need to, it would be beneficial to add instability or experimentation. For example, what we could do is change our routine sometimes. Meet with somebody who makes you uncomfortable. Ask them tough questions. Even a new lunch join or afternoon activity might change your perspective, and you might see old ideas in a new light. Think about what makes you uncomfortable. Step out of your comfort zone, experiment it, and then evaluate it. Did you learn anything new? And then always ask yourself, am I learning? If the answer is no, then you probably aren't leading anyone to do adaptive work. And remember, it starts with you so you can inspire others. The next leadership competency is to energize others. And how do we energize others in uncertain times? Dr. Garmon is going to continue with that.
Okay, let's think about energizing others. Remember, it starts with you, and it must engage others. Now we're going to talk about different categories and different actions we can take to energize others. So let's do those and talk about energizing others. Okay, Sabina, think about first, who do you need to energize? In your organization, in the issues you're thinking about, who do you need to energize? Who do you think you need, or do you know you need that you don't think has gotten energized? One of the things you have to do is work across factions. We've talked about factions, but think about that. Factions are people who share ideas or share values. What are the values of these factions? Where do their values overlap, and where do they fall apart? Think about them. How do you find out? Ask questions. Don't talk so much, listen. Recognize the values that people have, the loyalties they have, the possible losses they may have, and look where they overlap, but not where they're divergent. It's easier to establish collective purpose and to work together with people if you work on their overlapping values rather than their disparate values. So think about that in dealing with trying to energize people. Guard against biases. We're all biased. We like to think we're not, but we are. We all have biases. It may be you don't like some color, or you don't like some style of furniture, or some tree or something, but we have biases. And these biases impact us greatly, much more than we realize, I think. But so try to watch that and guard against that. Engage everyone. Get everybody engaged. Everybody in the organization or in the group has something to add, or they have a point of view that you need to know. You need to hear their point of view. So acknowledge the losses and the potential losses that each party has, and energize others. Ignite their imagination. Inspire them to work together. Inspire their imagination to find a common purpose and give the work back to them rather than trying to do it yourself. Okay, let's move on to another skill here of working across factions. If you're working across factions, you need to think about building trust first. Now that means trust in you, but not only trust in you. In addition to trust in you, they have to trust each other. If you're working across factions, you have to build trust across the factions, because these factions have to begin to trust each other. You also have to learn the overlapping interests they have and their needs, and help them reach collective goals. Help them set goals. Help them set goals that are attainable, so they're not impossible for them to reach. Okay, Sabina? We talk about collective purpose, and this is an important thing to think about. How do you get people to think about a collective purpose? Well, number one, we said you have to have a purpose. Your purpose has to be clear. So you have to think through what you're going to do and what you want, but you have to understand what other people have to contribute before you can know. You may know that you want to get out of the woods and leave the bear and the cubs alone. You may have people that want to take one of the cubs with them. They'd like to have one to take home with them. You have different purposes there, and they have to be addressed in different ways. Ignite people's imagination. Help them to think about what they could do that could make them reach a purpose, and help them set attainable goals, and engage these factions early and often. One of the important things about this is to meet with people and meet with them early and frequently and listen to them. One of the problems that we have is we hear sometimes instead of listening. So be careful about listening. Help them to understand that they're a part of it, and that you need to know what they know, and you need to hear what they have to say. So therefore you can inspire a collective purpose that meets your purpose. Okay, the last one that we're going to talk to, yeah, that's right. The last one we're going to talk about is different. Engage unusual voices. One of the first things to do when you're thinking about this is first identify who are your usual voices. Who do you normally hear? Who do you normally listen to? Who's around you that you'll always hear from? Whether you like what they say or not, you'll hear from them. And then think about who else is out there that you don't hear. Where are they? Where are these other voices that are connected to your issue, but you don't normally hear them? What do? Meet with them. Listen to them. Listen to them. And then ask for feedback about your ideas. Ask questions. Rather than talking, ask questions. Listen. Be curious. There's a big difference between listening and hearing. You know, they say that communication is the main part of leadership, and listening is the most important part of communication. That's one we forget sometimes. It's hard to remember. But true progress depends on listening to unusual voices as well as the usual voices. Okay, the last of the competencies or the skills that we're going to talk about is taking action or intervening skillfully. They call it at Kansas, intervening skillfully. We're going to talk at taking action, moving forward, getting something done. Remember that intervening is risky. Taking action is risky. Sitting and listening to people may not be too risky, but when you start moving, it's risky. So let's talk about the 3 strategies for taking action. First one is hold the purpose. It's very important to hold the purpose. Then we're going to talk about giving the work back. And finally, acting experimentally. How do you act experimentally? So to move forward effectively, you have to bear in mind that these things, we have to do these 3 things. Now, there are others too, but these are the 3 we picked out to talk about today. So let's talk about holding the purpose. If you think about purpose, distractions are everywhere. It's so easy to be distracted by anything. Think about being out in the woods. It's so easy to be distracted by anything. Every time the bear roars, it distracts you. Every time you look at the cubs crying, it distracts you. Every time somebody says, let's take one of the, all of that's distracting. Keep in mind the difference between purpose and strategies. Purpose is your end goal. That's where you're going. That's what you're holding on to. Strategies are things that you design to try to get you there. One of the problems we have is sometimes the strategies that we have to design are so complex and so involved and take so much time that we get so involved with them, we don't have time. We lose sight of the purpose. We focus on them instead of the purpose. Don't let that happen to you. One of the other suggestions that we have for you is to develop a not to-do list. We all develop to-do lists. We all have, well, this is what I'm going to do today or next week or this year or sometime. How many times have you developed a not to-do list? If you've got to address an adaptive issue rather than a technical issue, your to-do list is going to be different. So think about the things that you should not do in an adaptive thing that you would normally do in a technical issue. And make that list and look at it all the time. Keep on. One not to do is don't talk so much, listen more. Anyway, you can think of those things, but do think about that. Another thing that I would suggest to you is that you listen to people and be intentional about meetings. Think about the importance of what you hear, what did you learn, what did you understand, what happened here. Debrief and reflect after each meeting. What did you hear that will help move you towards your purpose? How will you use what you learned? Be clear about that. Okay, then we'll move on to acting experimentally. Oh, I wanted to notice, Winston Churchill is supposed to have said, when going through hell, don't stand still, keep going. I think that's a good point for all of us to remember sometimes. When the going gets tough, sometimes it gets unpleasant, we just stand still. And he said, don't do that. Don't stay there in hell. Keep going. I think that's a good thing for us to remember. Okay, let's move on to experimental. We love this picture of this guy up here, a caveman, I'm assuming, who was trying to get something that would roll down the hill. He was trying to invent the wheel. And if you'll notice, he has a lot of debris up there around him. He's caught on a lot of rocks or wood or whatever that is he's using, and he's made a lot of mistakes. He realized the triangle didn't work and the square didn't work and those others didn't work, but he finally kept on working. But after doing experiments, he kept on working and got the wheel. So it's working now. So one of the things that we need to do as dealing with unusual situations is to try experiments. Act experimentally. Encourage other people to act experimentally. How do you encourage other people? Well, one way is to use that word. Say, experiment, try things, do something different, try things and see if they work. It's also important to remember that experiment is never a failure. It may not work, but you've learned something. So it's not a failure. It's a success if you learned something, whether you worked or it didn't work. He was successful when he used the triangle. He found out that the triangle wouldn't work. He was successful when he beat out that square because he found out that it wouldn't work. So you have to keep on doing. Remember that if it's not successful, you've learned something, and that actions can have multiple effects on different factions that you're going. But also bear in mind that inaction has unintended consequences too. Okay, so let's move on to the last category we're going to talk about is giving the work back. And this is important to think about. We're talking about giving the work back versus delegating. Delegating is an act of authority. Do this, do that. I want you to done. You do that. That's an act of authority. Giving the work back is an act of leadership, because you're giving the work back to people to do, and you're leading them to decide to use their knowledge, to share their knowledge and figure out what to do. And you're actually sharing responsibility, and you're helping others to develop the solution or the action or the way to move forward. Okay, now, just before we quit, let's think of something. I want you to think about your issue that you developed, that you thought of. Think about the bear in the woods if you want to. What do you really want to do? What is your purpose? Immerse yourself in places where you're learning from other people. Don't stay away from that. Think locally and globally. Don't limit your thinking to the minor situation or just think in the broad sense. Think both ways. Remember that you can do something to mobilize others. It begins with you, and it must engage other people.
All right, well, here are we at the conclusion slide. We want to remind you that there are more elements under each competency to fully learn about adaptive leadership, active leadership. We have covered only a couple elements under each competency. But remember, it all starts with diagnosing the situation here. First, distinguish if it's adaptive or is it technical work, and then identify who needs to do the work. In the meantime, manage self by getting used to uncertainty and conflict. Experiment beyond your comfort zone. Try new things. Remember to energize others towards a collective purpose, because you can't do it alone. And then hold to that purpose when you are intervening skillfully. Give the work back, experiment, and then encourage others as well to experiment new ideas. We want to let you know that we designed these programs and materials to encourage the practice of mobilizing people to make progress on adaptive challenges. Think about the 4 leadership competencies here and how they might help in guiding you across a very challenging issue right now. We hope the language that we have provided gives you some kind of a framework for further experimentation. And remember, having adaptive issues means that there are no easy answers, but there are many ways to experiment, learn, and make progress. So have you thought about your issue? What is your bear? How are you going to deal with it?
We did, when we designed, put some words up here that we thought were pretty much scary right now, like social distancing, fear, self-quarantine, civil unrest, bankruptcy, survival, mask, corporate civil responsibility, politics, and so forth. Think about that now. What is it you want to do? What would you like to do? What is important to you to do? And how you're going to go about doing this. Remember, it's risky. So identify those risks and work through them and keep moving. We also want to thank you very much for joining with us. We have got a slide prepared with some references for you we told you about. The Kansas Leadership Center, I suggest that you look at their website. Is very interesting, and the things they're doing, all the stuff that they've been doing face-to-face, they're now doing on virtual thing. Ed O'Malley, who is the CEO there, wrote a book called Your Leadership Edge, and then I've listed some of Ron Heifetz's books here that you might want to look at. And I also think about, we've listed some references down here to leadership being used in healthcare, in business, in education, and in the military, actually for the military. So we're ready for your questions now. Oh, listen, I've listed my home telephone number on here. you can call me at home because I'm working from home. Call my office, it won't do any good. Be glad to hear from you. You're welcome to call me at 651-3274. And Sabina's email is down here too. So you can contact either of us. We'd like to hear from you. Okay, Don.
So you can either put it on the chat, the question on the chat, but if you are comfortable, I think you can unmute yourself and ask the question as well. We have a small enough group that I think we can do that.
Outstanding that paid in 2019, that I had to back those out. I had to add in to 2020 anybody that was.
Any questions, or is somebody's talking?
So I had to do 2 entries, basically make the revenue recognition rules clear. So what? So basically, we would need to put that amount somehow in CC Assist because I can't take it out of QuickBooks. But just let her know that accounting.
Does someone have are they asking a question? I can't tell. It's very muffled.
We do not have any submitted via chat yet.
Well, because that would have screwed up their.
I have a question. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So if you are, this is very interesting, and I definitely am happy it's recorded because I want to watch it again. So to pick up on some of the things that I missed as it went by so quickly. But do you all do trainings or other programs or things like this if someone's interested in learning a little bit more, or digging a little bit deeper into the leadership?
We'd be happy to do that. We'd be happy to talk to somebody about what kind of needs they had, and what, if we think we could help them and meet their needs. We do focus on obviously on adaptive leadership because we think it's so important, but it may be that they would want to talk, maybe some middle-level managers or some people in their organization, or maybe they just want to talk some more about it. We'd be happy to talk with them about it, and they can contact us any way they want to. We do have training programs. We do Zoom programs, of course. We're done it with nonprofits, and we've done adaptive leadership training with the directors of nonprofits, but that was before the days of having to do it virtually. But we're happy to do that. We'd be glad to talk with you about making arrangements that you all think would be interesting and helpful. We'd be glad to.
Okay. Yeah, I think leadership is such an interesting and important issue that I think a lot of what you've said, people need to process it and kind of think about it for a minute and then reach back out to you. So your contact information is still on the recording. Will be on the end of the recording page, and hopefully if you have questions or comments or needs, that you can reach out to either Sabina or Dr. Garmon. No last questions? Comments?
Anybody have any suggestions for us? We'd be glad to have suggestions too if you don't have questions or comments. Any advice you have for us?
Keep telling this story. It's really important, really needed. That's my advice.
Thank you.
I think it's really important, particularly right now, when we have no idea what we're going to face in the next year or two, or maybe beyond that. But it's easy to get scared.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
well, contact us if you have any questions or any suggestions. We'd be delighted to talk with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time and your energy and effort for this presentation. Again, the recording is available for viewing on the Business at its Best library on the partnership login portal of the Bowling Green Chamber website, which is bgchamber.com, and you can access that. If you need help accessing it, please let us know. We can definitely get you in there. So once again, thank you both. I appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.
Well, we're delighted to have been here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For long.
Thank you for collaborating with us. We appreciate this opportunity, and glad all of you attended it today.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecile. We'll be in touch.
Very good. Any of the rest of you, just give me a call anytime. I'd love to talk to you just to get your reaction to what we're talking about. Even if you don't want any more training, just want to talk to us about what you heard. We'd love to hear it. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dawn, for keeping it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.